this morning. Hello everybody online, welcome. So I had a pastoral class from 10 till just turned 12, and then I had to go because I'm singing for the veterans on Armistice Day in the town hall, and I'm using my own system, so I had to walk down with it because it's only background music, so they could test how loud it was, if it was too loud or okay. And then I said, "Oh, where were you thinking?" And I said, "Oh, try by the piano." So I sang by the piano. I said, "Oh, I thought you'd have me in the minstrels gallery," and he was like, "Oh, why don't we try that as well?" So I went up into the minstrels gallery and I set up, and he ran back downstairs and I started singing. He said, "No, we want you up here. We'll backlight you. What colour do you want?" I said, "Oh, a nice deep red because of it being Poppy Day."
Yeah.
I had a quick look at the clock tower. That was quite exciting. Yeah, to get up to the minstrels gallery, it's an extremely narrow turret staircase, like being in a castle.
Yeah, my daughter won't go up there.
Oh, really?
She claustrophobic in places.
See, I don't mind. As long as I don't think about it, I'm all right.
I took her to London one day. There was her, Jade, and me. We had to go on the underground, and then to get back, we stopped at this train station. There was a massive, humongous queue for the lift, and she don't like lifts anymore.
I don't do lifts.
So she said, "I'll walk up the stairs." I said, "Oh, okay, walk up the stairs." It's the one that's got the most stairs.
Yeah.
You know which one I mean?
Yeah.
Round and round.
I'd rather do that though than be in the lift.
She started walking up there, and I was very slow because I don't walk upstairs quick. And Jade went up with her, and the next thing I know, Jade's come flying back down the stairs again. And I said, "What's the matter?" She said, "Hurry up." She said, "Mum's up the top there." She said, "I don't know what's happening to her. She's dying." She said, she can't breathe or anything. I said, "Oh God." So I got a bit quicker, got up the top, and she was in such a state.
What, from the climb?
Yeah. Well, it's just all the claustrophobic business and everything.
Oh. Although when I was at Wales 2 years ago, I went to the waterfalls, and I where I used to go when I was a kid, and I used to climb from the bottom to the top, and it's a mountain.
Yeah.
Up the mountainside to find the cottage that we used to rent, and I stupidly thought I was 14, and I ran. Do you remember getting a phone call, Jackie? I ran up this and was holding on to bits of twig and tufts of moss to get up some of the steep embankments, and I got up there very quickly, but the pain I was in my chest, I couldn't breathe, my head was pounding. And I phoned Jackie and I said, "I think this is my last phone call. I'll never be. They'll never find me. Look at where my location is. I'm about to die." I didn't, obviously, because I'm here. I've drawn on the bright highlights and the strong contrasts. I knew. 3 o'clock in it. Well, thankfully, I'm out of here by just turned 4.
It shouldn't take too long.
Your empties, yeah.
Have you done any more Payne's Grey?
No, I haven't. I know you want me to tweak it a bit.
Yeah, because it's
More brown than blue,
yeah. If you look there, that's supposed to be Payne's Grey.
but it's very similar to the shadow
It's
colour.
a shadow instead.
Oh, okay.
Hey, bit of tweak. When you get round to it.
Okay.
You got to make some more up anyway, won't you, soon?
Yeah.
But we're trying to work out the accounts.
Oh well, they come first.
Well, Jackie would like them not to come first, wouldn't you?
I'd probably rather make these paints.
We just don't know what we're doing, Dee.
That's all right.
But we've stumbled on an old file from our accountant
All right.
from Beyond the Grave that may actually really help us understand the rest of it, because he didn't use Sage because he was a proper accountant, but he did it all on Excel. But he'd got each page on Excel, which is similar to each what's the word called on Sage? Ledger. So I think that will help. Oh, I keep getting that flipping feather. I love this feather. Look at it. It's so iridescent. I got it from the park, but the trouble is, I'll just stick it there. It's in my pencil with my little pencil, and I'm only gonna the detail on the handle of the silver one. I'm not gonna put much on. Excuse, we're getting the window fixed next week. I know I told you this last week, and it was going to be this week, but apparently it is next week. But they've downed tools because of Storm Kieran,
Well, I can understand that.
the builders. They've got us half sorted on the back, and they'll be back. They'll be back. But I thought this would be interesting doing a brass and a silver one, don't you think?
Didn't we do this in drawing?
In drawing, we did.
So you're at an advantage.
No, I don't know.
Well, no, because it's very different, isn't it, in watercolour, I think. Because I said I'd try, when we're doing the same thing, I'd try and do the same objects. Because those that come to several different classes, it will be a really interesting comparison to see what it looked like in drawing compared to...
Yeah,
It was last year we did this, I think.
yeah, it's not that long
Or
ago.
this year. And I haven't got it in this current sketchbook to show you, and I've not long got back. And I forgot all about it.
Yeah, mine's in my last year's.
Where's your final?
It's behind Marie. You won't be able to get in.
No.
All the sketchbooks are in that book, in that cupboard, on the bottom shelf, left hand side.
I forget that.
I've not long had a new sketchbook, you see, otherwise it would have been in that one.
Right.
Never mind, don't matter. I know we've got Paul online, haven't we? But you can't chat live, so I'll do it psychically.
Right.
So your highlights, I've got the darker shape because with metallic, the more information you can give yourself, the better. Have you seen? Check the email, Jackie, because you're right. I mean, when aren't you right? But when aren't you wrong? I mean.
Did he actually say that?
I didn't mean that. I meant when aren't you wrong? She's always right. It really annoys me. Apart from, she'd never heard of the word minstrel's gallery, had you?
No.
What?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what I said.
For Jackie not to know a word?
As well as a musical word, and she's very musical. And she's been in the town hall, but I had to say it's the balcony, really. I suppose. Now I think, I know I mentioned masking fluid, but I think if we're careful, we can get away without it. Because we know we're going to mess with it, don't we? I do, don't I?
Masking fluid's just gonna create edges.
Well, on the silver one, you've got definite edges, but I think because they're so big and definite, we can just paint around it. You should do this. You'll be really good at this. I'm trying to get you to paint again.
A metallic thing in lockdown and it went from complete
Oh,
rubbish
that was, yes,
to
that
looking amazing.
that was a brass jug with a lemon in front of it, wasn't it? A Thursday evening watercolour class.
Oh, gorgeous that one.
But I remember Jackie messaging me at the first half and going, "What's this?"
Terrible.
and I said, "Trust the process." And then I got a message after the class going, "Hey, that looks quite good actually."
Yeah.
I got that. I've kept that.
Yeah, I know you have, yeah.
I really liked it, so it's in a frame in my house. That's not very often.
Right, I'm just gonna lean over you and get a towel.
Can you get them? That's
Yeah,
all.
absolutely. Not a problemo.
I was going to get you a big tile out, but I forgot.
I thought it was there.
No. You know me.
I've just been busy. I'm a busy man.
Chris and I managed to put up with
Running up and
somebody
down clock tower.
most weeks. On Wednesday,
Oh,
Who?
Jimmy said, "Fuck."
Marie's all right today because she's all by herself. What we call her.
Yeah, I don't do much painting.
I know it saddens me that you don't do much painting anymore. Hmm?
Did you any? I don't know last time.
No, well that you have done one at Wardington recently
When was that?
before my COVID illness.
Oh, like long time.
What? I think you should do some more.
I think
you sound a lot better this week, Barry.
Yeah, I'm getting more annoying, so that's good, aren't I, Jackie?
Yeah, it's really annoying.
I must be getting better.
Did you do all that black shadow on the silver
Yes. It's a really funny shape. I think that must be the ceiling. It's really hard to. I mean, these are stock photographs. They're not my photographs because every time I tried to photograph a metal thing, you get your face in it, don't you? What were we looking at on Friday in art history? In the women artists one, there was that still life, and
it was, they had a big
it
metal
was-
jug, and you could see the artist's reflection
in every part of it,
in the base, the bowl, and the stem.
and some of it was the right way up, and some of it was upside down. So it's like a portrait 4 times in this painting. It was amazing.
She was such an amazing artist.
There was some good still lives and stuff there, wasn't there? Really,
Yeah.
it's just so sad that we don't often hear the names.
I've been catching up on Fake or Fortune.
Oh, I haven't seen any of this series yet.
Well,
I've
a
only.
couple of them were really, really good. But there was one where it was a. Do you mind a spoiler?
No, I don't mind a spoiler because I won't remember.
Gorky.
Okay.
And the main restorer of one of the big national galleries had been asked. His widow had given him. Gorky's widow had given him this painting
Mm.
and had said, could he restore it by taking off the white paint that was covering it. And he didn't manage to get it done in his lifetime. But he was doing it. Oh, flipping it. Jackie, could you pass me a glass sienna? And thank you, darling. Add that to my chitty list. So they were starting to take off this. The whole thing had been covered with white house paint, and then they were taking it to the Gorky Foundation and to his granddaughter. And they said, no, you have to leave it on. That's what he did.
So he'd put the white paint on.
Yeah, it was as if he was going to start another painting. And they
Okay.
said, no, you have to, because if you take it off, we won't ratify it as a Gorky.
I suppose it is difficult when you're. I mean, there are certain paintings that, like the Victorians painted
Yeah.
over old paintings to match their decor. So when you're restoring it, but when you're restoring a painting that hasn't been painted over and you find something else underneath, you run the risk of. I mean, both of them
Yeah, just mainly me.
both of them were by that artist, but clearly they didn't want that under one, so they painted over. Do you know what I mean? It's a really interesting thing about restoration and all of that kind of stuff.
It was quite funny though, because his wife, who was, you know, the wife of the person who had been given the painting, well, they got half of the, they got half the white paint off, and it was ordinary wall paint. They'd x-rayed it, they'd found a missing painting in the bottom layer. Then another painting over it, and then the white paint. And it was half taken off. And she said, well, do you know what, I'm going to take it off anyway. Because the way it is now, he would never have left it like that. And she said, it's my painting, I'm going to take it off.
Well, that's true enough. If it come off, yeah. How funny. No, I've only just caught up with All Creatures Great and Small.
No, they're worth doing. There's some nice ones.
I'll have to have a look.
Yeah, I like them when I get a chance to watch them, but my kids are not very tolerant of that kind of thing.
What, all creatures great and small, or fake and fortune?
Anything.
Anything.
Anything I might want to watch.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Anything.
Because they don't go to bed now, do they?
Oh, I'm giving them the keys now to look at themselves. It's got to that stage, really.
Yeah.
They're old
I'm
enough.
tired before they are.
Yeah.
Especially the boy one.
Is he the older one?
Yeah, he's 17.
Yeah.
So
It's really hard.
It's hard to believe he's 17.
I know it is hard to believe that he's 17. But I know somebody said to me I don't look old enough to have a 17.
You don't look old
I
enough to
am
have a
very
Do not
much,
look old enough
very
to
much
have a
old enough to
17.
have a 17-year-old. Never mind. His birth certificate says otherwise. I am
Yeah.
old enough.
And you were there.
I was there, I remember
Yeah.
it, and I have to say, unfortunately, I was an adult.
Yeah. And of sound mind. Well, at that
Well, I'm
moment.
not sure.
That moment, maybe not, but.
No, I don't think so, actually.
I'm going to assume you're nearly drawn, Paul. Marie's nearly drawn. What's interesting about metallic objects, and when you look at any painting of a metallic object, they don't use any metallic paint. And I had a student, gosh, a long time ago now, who wanted to paint some silver ballet slippers, and she wanted to do a painting of silver ballet slippers. And she said to me, well, why don't I just use this silver acrylic paint? And I said, well, that won't look like silver ballet shoes. And she said, but it's silver. And I said, yes, but it will look flat, because what makes something look metallic is all of the different colours that is in the metallic object. And in those ballet slippers, it was all the creases that were darker, the white highlights and the silver. And she said, well, I'm going to try. So she painted it all in silver acrylic paint, and then the next week she said, this looks very flat. How do you paint metallic things to look metallic? And it's true. So when you look at any old paintings with Louis the 14th, gold furniture, it will all be painted in oils in a similar way to what we're painting it in watercolours. I mean, I know this is sort of like a dull. Well, there wasn't there, when we were at Lancaster House, there was that massive painting with all that gold furniture that had been painted, and I said, oh, I can tell you how they painted that.
A worse one than Versailles is St Catherine's Palace in Russia. Yeah, it's offensive. The
Too
sheer
gold.
amount of gold, because of course the Nazis ransacked St Peter, and the Peter, I can't remember its name now, Peter one and the St Catherine one, and Putin's been spending fortune to put it back to what it was like.
Oh, nice, yeah.
Really useful way of spending.
Well, yeah, not very useful to spend money, perhaps, but
But it's
interesting culture.
the sheer
yes.
amount of gold, and you look at it and you think, now I understand the ostentation of the Russian oligarchs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
I couldn't believe that's right. It's like,
and Catherine was copied from Versailles.
Yeah.
yes,
But
Because it also makes a difference, and I learnt this from picture framing. What colour goes underneath the gold? Often they will put a red underneath the
Yeah.
gold, and that makes the glow real. I don't know how it works, but if you had like a more older looking frame, they'd use a dark brown, and if they wanted it to look more brass, they'd put a black underneath. So it's amazing how it affects the goldness of it, but red underneath gold really punches it up. So we're going to work sensibly, I suppose. This one, then this one. So the white bits are going to stay white.
Yeah.
We can all do that. We've just got to remember not to paint it. And because this is a silvery pewter, I'm going to go with ultramarine and a bit of burnt sienna. So
What
blue,
colours are you using?
a middle brush, a blue and a brown. Because to me, it's got more of a brown tint to it. And
So we want blue and
ultramarine and burnt sienna, or any brown will do. Any brown will do.
I last painted something in April. Yeah.
April.
That's the one I did it all.
Well, we'll have to sort that out on Monday. Whatever the class is.
Oh, which brown were you using?
I'm using burnt sienna, but I don't think there's burnt sienna in that set. I think, yeah, get a bit of burnt sienna because you'll need the oranginess of it.
you say ultramarine and burnt sienna, didn't you?
Yeah, blue and brown.
Dark light come out.
Blue and brown. Oh, there's somebody in the shop. Sorry, Jackie.
It's like a grey colour.
Yeah, blue. Well,
Bluey grey.
it can either be a bluey grey or a browny grey, depending on which is the stronger colour. I've gone for a slightly browner grey. But really, when you're looking at silver, it's reflective, isn't it? Because they used to, anyway, back mirrors with silver, didn't they?
Yeah.
So basically, it reflects whatever's around it. You might want to find, for the larger areas of this, you might prefer a bigger brush, just to cover it less patchy. So I'm not doing the really dark bits, I'm just doing the mid bits, and I'm leaving the light. And it's going to look really bizarre. I don't mind telling you it's going to look bizarre, because it is. Can't believe I got to be singing Christmas songs on the 2nd of November. It's earlier than last year. In every sense, because I'm sure I didn't have to be there till 5:30 last year. And it was mid-November, but before Armistice, because I can remember saying it feels weird singing Christmas songs. I haven't put my poppy on today because it felt really weird having a poppy on my jacket and then singing a Christmas carol. But I have got, they've got another Christmas event at the end of the month that I'm also singing at. So it's a very busy month, November, for little me. I think I'm going to get a cauliflower in this. Let me...
Which one's ultramarine? Because my colour is not very nice, so I don't think I got the right blue last time.
That one's your ultramarine.
Okay, that's fine.
The darker one is your ultramarine.
Okay. We're gonna do
that needs to dry. I'm not very good at multitasking. Oh, I used to be really good at multitasking. I tried to do something on my phone just now while I'm waiting for that to dry, and that hasn't worked. I managed to avoid getting a cauliflower in that bigger area. I should have used my bigger brush, but I used a little brush, which was wrong. But if there are smaller highlights that you think, oh, you see I've missed a bit there, that you might want to add in later, we can always do it with some white gouache. At the end. Yeah, well, I don't think we will now, because we're gonna do it without, and I think it'll work better without. It's only for the big areas, because the highlights on the brassy one on the right isn't as vibrant or as subtle. It's more subtle rather. Done-ish, good. No, it's good. It'll be fine. It's hard to tell really with this at this moment. Fill that in again now. Right, the next colour is the same colour, but I'm going to add a bit of black or Payne's grey to it, because it needs to be the darker tone, but I think Payne's grey is going to be too dark. I've just got to fill one thing in. Where's me? I'm going to still use my smaller brush, so that's the ultramarine and the burnt sienna, and then a little bit of Payne's grey. I think that's a bit too blue, because Payne's grey is blue and black, or you've got black. So this is for your dark bits, and then.
Okay, you're in charge now.
Oh no! Don't put me in charge. Don't put me in charge.
You are.
Are you closing me?
I will do. Because people are arriving to sing and stuff.
Well, they won't do any singing for a while.
Yeah, but it's kind of.
I think one of them is definitely. But can you see if you can find the black? Because one of them.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
The green looks black in that.
You should take a card. That would help.
We should. I think I moved one of them around though one week just so they could. No, because then I kept all of the colours they needed together in one piece.
So this is the same colour.
But with some Payne's grey in. A little bit, yeah. You don't want it too dark.
I doubt it, because I've got to be running people around. So.
Okay.
Okay. Have fun.
Thank you. See you in the morning.
See you later.
So I'm doing the really big areas that I can see that need doing. Because I'm still trying to keep the shop on earlier closing hours at the minute.
Is that working out for you?
Well, it is in a way, because I am exhausted a lot more than I used to be because it hasn't left me, and it's I messaged Jackie the other week to say, she asked how I was on one of the weekends, and I thought my IBS was playing up, because I got a lot of tummy ache, but it didn't feel like IBS, but it was really achy. And then I chanced upon a video from a GP discussing the new strain of COVID, and the symptoms for that is stomach aches and cramps and bloating and stuff. So, as well as loss of smell and taste. So I've basically had everything. So as the virus is finally leaving me, it's given me the other side effects that I didn't have before. It's the gift that keeps on giving.
It's a disgusting gift.
It is a disgusting gift, and I'll never know who kindly gave it me. Because if I did, I'd punch him. I'm using my little brush now just to start putting in the same dark colour, but there's some like little fiddly bits. I will be going darker again. But I'm trying to be sensible today, which is very unlike me when I'm painting, because I normally start randomly painting from all over the place instead of from the left to the right, from the top to the bottom. So I'm really trying to be good today. I'm not, there's a weird face in this, isn't there? But I'm not going to do it as a face, I'm just going to do it as a squiggle. So you're not grandchildren in today then, I presume?
No, that was yesterday and the day before.
And that's enough.
Yeah. I was saying to Marie that massive difference in Ellie's two little boys. Oscar was born in COVID.
Yeah.
And he was 4 months old before he met anyone outside.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah.
And he wouldn't go to anyone. Whereas little one now, well, he'll go to anyone.
I think I read somewhere that there was one child who didn't recognise what people looked like when they hadn't got masks on.
Yeah.
You don't think of all of those potential things that we take for granted.
And you really do.
I think the lockdown affected lots of people in so many different ways. And then of course there were those of us that absolutely loved it.
I think the people who loved it were more those who could see it as a temporary and it wasn't going to be permanent.
Yeah.
And all that kind of thing. But I think a lot of the younger people just...
Well, it's extremely alien, isn't it?
haven't got the experience to understand that it was a temporary thing that would be gone.
Yeah. Well, we were originally told it was going to be just a couple of months, didn't we? Or 6, was it 6 weeks, I think they said originally.
Well, we now realise they've been never going to be clear.
Yeah, we now realise they were all just liars.
Yes.
Incompetent.
Yes, I've watched a little bit of clips of the COVID inquiry, and sadly none of it shocked me. It was all expected, and I feel even worse about that. The fact that we're at a point now where nothing the government has said or done shocks us. We just go, oh well.
Well, I think that the country's gone into that sort of state anyway, hasn't it?
Oh gosh,
You know,
absolutely.
we'll just carry on as usual.
But the trouble is, that's dangerous, isn't it? Because that means that people can do anything because we're desensitised to it all. And then it's not until later that you start thinking, oh, when did that happen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a bit like they say with kids and computer games with violence in. You know, once you see so much of it, you are very desensitised to it. You're blind to it in a way because you almost expect it.
Yeah.
And I really don't think, in certainly in government, that is good.
If you look back over the years, like, I mean, what governments have we had ever that has really done something absolutely wonderful?
I think in our lifetime, not very many. I mean, you'd be looking at, was it Attlee, Clement Attlee, with set up the NHS and all of that kind of stuff. But since then, it's kind of been a little bit downward slope.
As far as I'm concerned, they're just in it to line in their own pocket.
I think a few things that Tony Blair set up, I did a few, because I was at high school at the time, and I know the teaching and everything like that was a lot better, and the teachers
Yeah.
seemed a lot happier. But then when I was teaching at the time of Mr. Gove, it was awful. We'd have a staff meeting, and then the next week we'd have another staff meeting that basically said, right, so everything that we told you last week, we're now not doing anymore. We've now got to do this new thing. And it was just so hard. But I think specifically the last 10, 12 years have really not been beneficial to a single person unless you're wealthy.
Not agree with you.
I think wealth speaks. But I watched a clip actually of George W. Bush, from when he was president, and he laughingly gave a talk about peace, and he said, but sometimes money overrides peace. And I thought, you said that quiet bit out loud, you're supposed to think that bit. So there is nothing new, but I just feel everything seems to be far more money grabbing than I've ever known in my life. You know, when you look, and if you've looked at that COVID inquiry even slightly, the amount of money wasted and spent on PPE that was never going to be used because it was somebody they knew and they gave them work. And
I remember listening to Patrick Grant, the guy who's on.
oh, the sewing bee.
Yeah, and he was saying that because of his contacts in the clothing trade,
Yeah.
he offered the government, if they'd pay for the fabric, he'd get all the sewers in the country to make PPE.
Oh, that would be good. Yeah.
And they basically said no. They turned him down because they'd got a friend of theirs who was doing it.
Again, that not surprised me. I'm going to go even darker in a bit with this. In places. As it dries, you might find that there are bits that you think, oh, that needs to change. If you've gone a bit too gung-ho and you want to lift any of the darks out, you can go in with a damp brush, a clean damp brush, and you can just lift out little bits. It's very clever. Marie, you've been coming for a while now, haven't you? Have we done any metal objects before? I don't think we have we?
No, I don't remember ever.
And here's me trying to get 2 done in under 2 hours.
No, I haven't got any of these in my collection.
Silver or this kind of silver / pewter, is actually the easiest one of the two types of metal. You know, because you've got brass or gold, which is going to be very similar. It's either one or more of a yellow or brown. But basically, I'm just building up with the neat Payne's grey or black now for a few really dark bits, and it's that contrast that starts to make it feel like it's solid. But you sort of, to get it, you have to squint at the photo and look at the bits that are the darkest bits, and it takes a little bit of getting used to. Last year when I was at Hilliers, it felt really weird because they've not got the cafe anymore.
Yeah.
And obviously, no, I think they make far more money out of not having the cafe and using the space for stuff. And the sad thing is, I was saying to the class this morning, with Hilliers specifically, they are pot bound, aren't they? Because they can't move.
No.
They can't expand. They can't expand the car park. They can't expand the garden centre, because if they expanded the garden centre, the only place they can go is the car park. So they've got to make choices of what has to go for their business to work. And it's not until you really look at that you think, oh yeah.
It was a shame because it was really, really good food.
Oh, it was lovely. It was a lovely little cafe. Because I used to do, back in the day, my Sunday art classes used to be there.
Yeah, it did, didn't it? Does Grace still do any art?
She did up until she became a granny.
Oh, right.
And then she's all about the kids now. So I've not seen her.
All about the children.
I haven't seen her for a while. Oh, well, I've seen her, but I haven't, not in a class. Because she made me that lovely toadstool waistcoat.
Oh, right.
She's a good seamstress as well. There's a lot of you about, you seamstressy folk.
Yeah.
We learned at school.
I wish I did.
Well, my grandmother taught me as well.
My mum taught me a little bit of sewing,
She was right in me.
but
Really was.
Mum was more hand sewing. I'm very scared of a machine. I've got two old hand singers, you know, that hand cranked, and I feel confident with that because I've got more control over it, I suppose. I think that looks quite metallic. Would you say?
Yeah.
I might have to darken a few of my darker bits. Paul, I don't think you'll have done metallic before either. Unless we did it on a Sunday. That was me. It'll be fine. I think when you see it on the big screen, it makes more sense. I mean, because these are professional photos, I think, I don't know if they're just randomly off the internet or if they're royalty free, but a lot of them anyway with these sort of things have no shadow or anything because they're just on their own. I might have to put a little bit of a just loose shadow underneath so it feels really pale grey, grounded. Because otherwise I feel it's a bit weird. I could potentially add more highlights on it, but I don't know if I want to. Because I also know, because it's coming up to 10 to 3, I'll have to do the drinks. But the brassy colour takes longer. Would you have thought that or not, do you think? That the brass, you would. Well, in a way,
There's more blending.
there is more blending, and the light sources aren't as straightforward. Whereas this is very much just stick it on. It will look better than you think. I'm going to have to get a little bit of gouache out, I think, because there's those little bobbly bits under the rim that I haven't done. I won't need much gouache. I'll give you a little bit of gouache. Put some white bits back. So I think the stronger you contrast as you progress it, the better it's going to look. So if you can get your real darks against your lights, it will start to stand out more, which is easier said than done, I know. So almost with neat Payne's grey or black, go in with some of the darks. I was supposed to be at Roxton House Hotel for New Year's Eve performing for a gig there, but I found out they.
What are you doing with all the white bits?
I've just added those little white bits. Can you see it's got like a fluting ground?
White bits.
I'm leaving them white.
You're just leaving them white.
Yep,
Oh, right. Okay.
that's easy enough, isn't it?
Yes, that's all. You definitely got it. But everything else is getting a colour.
Yeah. So, Marie, decaf cappuccino. D, hot
Could I have-
chocolate
No,
or
could I have
tea?
chai latte?
Chai latte, Caroline?
With oat milk.
Cappuccino, please. Normal.
Yeah. Oat milk.
Yes, please.
That's very waitrose.
And mine's a decaf, please.
Decaf cappuccino.
Decaf.
And what was yours, Caroline? Normal,
Normal cappuccino.
normal cappuccino. Chai oat latte.
Trying to get this really big black bit to be flat without any paint strokes visible. shadows that make the difference, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Mm.
Just keep thinking that's a bird tweeted outside the window. Every time I hear it,
It is birds, isn't it?
But it's the bird song.
it's on there, isn't it?
Yeah,
Oh, right.
I keep thinking it's a real one.
yeah.
Where is it coming from?
He's got a little speaker there, just I don't think you can see it.
Yeah.
You see a little green light
Eh?
there.
Yes,
On
yes,
the
I can
corner.
see it, yeah.
Oh, and there's one poking, looking
Yeah,
at you.
there's one pointing this way.
Yeah.
Little bird song.
Yeah.
Chirpy, chirpy, cheep, cheep.
The bronze one's more wet and wet. I think that's how I feel it. But I'm not sure.
Is it no more fiddle?
Sorry?
No more fiddle. Yeah. Or is it all come crashing down on top of your nut?
Just crash and burn, isn't it? Says she picking up a brush.
I went to a stretch and tone class yesterday.
Well, that was foolish.
Oh my god. I couldn't move this morning. Ridiculous.
I do Pilates on a Monday, and she said to me, "You're getting too good at the ones we've been doing, so we're going to move to sort of waist and below." And I said, "Oh, thank you." Dear God, I was walking bow-legged for the entire of Tuesday.
It's a nightmare, isn't it?
Jeez. Says you sit down on your left bum cheek with your left leg forward and bent and your right leg out sideways and bent. So bring yourself up onto your knees, and you're sitting there going, how?
Can you sit on your, like when you sit down, can you sit on your knees and then your bum goes on the back of your leg?
Yes.
I can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
I can't do that. Mine won't touch
No.
each other. No, when
No,
I've been
yeah.
to yoga and people
I
do
can
it, I
just-
can't get.
Yeah.
Just do it,
touch
but
it.
that's practicing for
Must
ages.
be some sort of muscles that
Yeah, it's been
Stretched
tightened up in
out.
your,
Yeah.
in your
Because my
legs and that.
granddaughter can sit like that, but with her bum on the floor
yes.
and her legs.
But that's how my 18-month-old grandson, that's how he sits. He's
Yes.
sort of on the floor with his legs.
Yeah, back
Yeah,
like little
like
frogs.
that, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But I remember my middle one used to do gymnastics when she was much younger, and she's always been. Oh, she's horrible to sleep with. You know, yarns and the next day everywhere. And I went up, and she was lying on her tummy with her head on the pillow, and her feet were next to her head. So she'd obviously been sitting there and just fallen asleep, face first, but her feet were on the pillow as well. I remember thinking, do I move her?
Like that. So with
Yes,
your legs.
exactly, but bum on the floor.
Yeah, his bum is on the
I'm
floor.
perfectly happy.
Yeah.
How old
That's
is
how
he?
he sits, 18 months.
Gorgeous. Is he chattering?
Not that much. Hiya, bye, cheers and goal. That's about it. Seems to be able to make himself understood by going,
Well, exactly. My little granddaughter used to babble, and it was glorious because she'd go,
the older one used to do that. Yeah. Talk to you as if you were and you'd be like,
Absolutely, yeah. And on Sunday, well, oh, you already have that. And now her go back into babble when her mind's going too fast
Oh, that looks good
for
there.
the words to come out. Oh, thank you, darling.
Yeah, it's very good. It does look from here. It looks like it is shining.
And yours.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, don't I?
I suppose if you think about it, it is
Yeah.
just
Yeah, they are good.
black and grey. Maybe we're better than we think.
Very good.
But I love them when we start to talk at that
Yeah.
age, because it's like a stream of consciousness.
But he's much less, as I say, the other one was much more chatty. He's not really chatty at all, but I think it's just maybe there's too much. Everyone else is talking as a secondary or something.
My youngest, my son, just didn't bother talking because he had two big sisters.
Yeah, well, that's what I think a bit. They
And
don't need to, and they can just get what they want by.
Pointing and
Mm.
he didn't. He was really slow to talk, really, really slow. And I remember one time he must have been about 12. We always used to have meals together because we did. And I said to him, "What do you think?" And he said, "Well, I'm not even sorry." And I said, "Oh, yeah, why not?" And he said, "Well, because they won't let me speak." I had to agree with him. You know, they were absolute little mares for that. But it'll be interesting to see how Ellie's youngest, who's only 3 months, turns out, because his big brother is very, very good at talking, and he'll be 3 next month. But yeah, he's very good. He's really on it. I wonder whether Albie will need to talk. Oh, this is Mrs. Overall.
No. Decaf for Marie. Decaf on it.
Has she written the D on it?
Whole decaf. Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, isn't it?
Oh, these are all good. Don't need to sound
There you
surprised.
go, you do good teaching. This is
Well, this is it, isn't it?
Is this more wet in wet?
Sort of. It's more diffused. Now, you'll like what's in here.
Oh, well, oh God. Yeah.
Then Johnny Dodger.
She's a jammy dodger fan. She hates custard cream. Where's Marie?
I think she's vanished. But you see, in Bake Off they had to make custard cream biscuits.
Did they?
No, pointless.
You can buy it.
Yeah.
It's dark in the toilet, isn't it?
I know the builders have left the screen up outside.
Ooh. Oh no.
Thank you. Get really excited.
Any
when you
reason
get a
for
jammy
leaving the
dodger
screen
in.
up, or they just left it?
I don't know if they forgot. Because they're coming back on Monday morning.
What
They're
are
just
they supposed to be doing out there?
on the back there, because we had a lot of issues with rainwater coming through the wall.
Yeah.
So they've had to take all the cement out of all 3 buildings, and then they're putting it all back in again.
All the mortar.
All the mortar. Right, can we do this in 40 minutes?
Yeah.
'Cause-
go for it.
It takes me 20 minutes to put my dicky bow on. Right, so I'm going to use my big brush and leave all the white areas.
You're going to wet everything else.
Wet everything else because we're building up lots of colour. It's a really interesting one. Paul, I think you'll really enjoy doing this. I'll find out at the end when you post the results, won't I? And I'm actually going to go with cadmium yellow on its own. So it's a very yellow piece. Oh, I've gone out. I've been trying to keep that clean, and I've gone over an area that I was supposed to keep white. I'll have to lift it out. Trouble is, you see, when you're using a bigger brush, it's good for covering a larger area, but it's bad for going round fiddly things, isn't it?
Oh, it is, isn't it?
Because it's a bit cumbersome. Even though I've got a nice fine point, you get used to slopping it about because it's a big brush. A bit like when you're in a 60 zone on the road and then suddenly you hit a 30-mile-an-hour road. It's very hard to instantly become 30 miles an hour after you've been used to.
Which one's cadmium yellow?
It's the more orangey yellow. That one, yeah. That is it. Oh. See, I've put cadmium red on there, but we don't really need cadmium red. It's only if your cadmium yellow is a bit naff. And it's a bit too greeny rather than orangey, but we're all right here. And Paul, I know you got my paints, so you'll be alright. I've packed my Santa hat ready for my gig tonight, but I don't know if I will wear it, because I think that's going a bit too far. But to be fair, they will want to be selling Christmas stuff, won't they? That's what it's about. So,
Absolutely round. Is it?
so I've got to give them what they want. But they did actually say to, because I'm doing the end of the month as well, which is their full-on Christmas, because that's when they're doing another late night event. But it's for their Christmas tree launch. That's full-on Christmas. This is semi-Christmas.
20% off.
Yeah, 20% off all Christmas things. Excludes food and drink.
Oh, does it? Oh. I can't go, it's my granddaughter's birthday.
Oh, well. You can come to the one on the 30th.
I will.
I'll serenade you.
Right, what colour was it?
Cad yellow. And then I'm going to mix cad yellow and burnt sienna.
Just drop this in.
Yeah, around your white bits. And that's a more always. Oh, do you know what? I am going to put a bit of Payne's grey in that because it's the wrong colour. It's not murky enough. It was too paprika. How I had it. Do you know what? I went downstairs.
What are you adding into that, though?
So cad yellow, burnt sienna, and then I've added a bit of Payne's grey because it was too paprika-y.
Yeah.
It just didn't look right. Yeah, I went down just at the right time because she's had everyone from the therapy centre come in for drinks. There's like a queue of 8 people as she was just finishing making our drinks. Phew. Otherwise we wouldn't have had a drink. She was just saying to me, I think I'll lock the door once I've made these, because she's got the singers in and I'm closed and I'm not here anyway in a bit, so she could get on with washing all the mugs up and stuff. And then as she said it, the door flung open and 8 people all walked in. And I could have locked the door, but I couldn't get past all 8 people. It was hard enough just to get up the stairs with my tray.
Not me on Halloween. Next Tuesday.
Oh, I don't get anybody where I live anymore. I used to.
You have to put your pumpkin out.
Yeah, well, I used to put a whole pot of sweets out. I had a big tub of sweets. Because I don't like answering the door in the dark at night. And I don't like kids. But I thought I'd be community spirited. And I did that for years. And then one year, somebody nicked the whole tub, including the tub. And I thought, well, blow this for a game of soldiers. You've just ruined it for everybody now.
Not going to play anymore.
Because it's costing me a fortune. I don't really like you. Why am I bothering?
Yeah, I didn't put a pumpkin out last year, and obviously we didn't get anybody because I didn't realise that what you were supposed to do.
No, it's a new unwritten law, isn't it?
To my daughter.
Yeah, if there's no pumpkin or your house is in darkness. I mean, it used to be your house was in darkness, wasn't it?
Yeah. So this year I put the pumpkin out, loads and loads of sweets. Put the pumpkin out, put loads of decorations out in the garden and lights.
Nice.
Oh God, I've never seen so many kids. And I ended up, and it was about, wow, 7:15. So it was really early still. And I had 2 sweets left. And I said to John, what the hell am I going to do? I said, I've got no bloody sweets. He said, you better get out the front there and get the pumpkin in and everything out. So I'm running out there,
Yeah.
putting everything back in before anybody else came and knocked on the
I think some people put signs out now when they've run out of sweets.
Oh dear.
I didn't know
I did
about
manage
that. You
to,
had to put a pumpkin out there, but I was in my friend's street and I saw some kids walking and they went, "Oh, not there because there's no pumpkin." But oh, I didn't know that was a thing.
No,
It's
it's
a very good thing.
It is a good thing.
it is, but it needs to be more publicised, I think, because this is your cad yellow, burnt sienna, and Payne's grey, and then I'm going to be adding more burnt sienna and Payne's grey to get darker. But it's kind of all done
It's just an orangey sort
an
of
orangey,
colour.
murky, browny colour, yeah, and then we'll,
And then put in some Payne's grey.
yeah, tiny bit of Payne's grey, hardly any at all. I've got it quite damp at the minute, and I need it to be slightly less damp before I put the next layer on. I like it to have a bit of moisture, but I think there's too much in certain places. Oh yes, that works, with a bit more burnt sienna and Payne's grey in that mix. I'll have to soften some of these edges because the bits that I wanted to keep damp have dried. Which is always the way, isn't it? The bits that you don't want wet stay wet, and the bits that you want to stay wet dry. If that made any sense. Because I confused myself there. It's amazing when you look just how dark some of this stuff is. I mean, I've not gone dark yet. And I might have to do that as it dries. The singers are in, so they might start singing soon.
Is that a good thing?
I won't comment.
Okay.
Sometimes.
Where did they go and sing?
They get gigs and do all sorts of stuff, but they also do a monthly thing at the Reindeer, like an open mic night.
Oh, no.
They normally wear Hawaiian shirts for their gigs, but I don't think they wear Hawaiian shirts to rehearse. But it is their rehearsal time, so it's never all going to be perfect.
No, that's true.
It's just when I rehearse, I do it as away from public as I can, because I sound awful at some songs.
I
I don't sing. Just don't do it. It's not kind.
It's a lovely thing, though, singing. I think.
It's lovely to, if you can do
You
it.
can do it. Or if you can't hear that you can't do it. Like my husband can't sing, but he doesn't know he can't sing. I keep telling him.
That's called the Dunning-Kruger effect. When you don't know, you can't do anything. Like stupid people. Because they don't know they're not stupid.
You're so sort of tone deaf that you can't hear your bad singing.
Yes. You see, my mum always said she was tone deaf. But actually, she wasn't. She was just trying to sing in a key that was far too high for her. She'd been better off in a lower register. So she could sing. But again, it's the same as art lessons, isn't it? You get told by certain things, not things, people, that you're no good or whatever, and then you just don't try. Which is, especially if it's something that you enjoy.
Well, I can remember as a child, for some reason the school suddenly got really interested in music, and each class had to produce a choir. And I can remember the music teacher standing in front of me with this fearsome expression on her face, because I always had to be at the front because I was little. And she'd say, "Open and shut the mouth only."
Oh.
Not one sound.
Oh, that's really quite sad.
Not one sound.
I found my high school music report out from when I was, I don't know, about 13. I didn't take music beyond what, I didn't. Yeah, more Payne's grey and burnt sienna to make it darker. Music was a core subject until your options. And my music teacher kept wanting me to join the choir and do this, and I didn't want to do any of it, so I didn't. But in the report, it was like, Barry has a really good voice and it's way above average for his age, and that, a good ear for music and all of this. I never did anything with it. No, I can't stand acting. And it's because I can't remember anything. With my anxiety, I have one of those kind of anxieties that I actually forget everything. Which is why I have my lyrics when I'm singing, because I literally, although it was brought out in my class yesterday, because when I'm doing gigs I'll often take requests and I don't know what's coming next, and I've got like a backlog of 800 songs. How am I going to remember 800 songs? I'm not really, am I, realistically?
Well, I mean, I don't suppose even the best of singers remember.
No, do you know, I was really quite happy. I was watching the Macy's parade. Was it Macy's parade in America last year? And Mariah Carey was singing her big All I Want for Christmas Is You on the stage. And opposite her was all the lyrics. She had to have the lyrics up. And I thought, well, if the song that she's the most famous for, that she's been singing for 25 years, she can't remember it. Well, I'm allowed to not remember the songs that I've been singing. But like musicians will have their music scores, won't they? And that's fine. There's just sort of a bit of snobbery with singers, like there is in the art world and everything, really, that you're expected to remember everything and know everything. And I kind of rebel against that because I don't agree with that.
You've got this Beatles thing now, haven't you?
Beatles thing.
Beatles.
What's that?
You know the Beatles.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the new
The new
business
song.
We're going to hear it for the first time this afternoon on Scott.
Yeah, we heard it yesterday.
Oh.
Hear it. Was it on already?
It was on what's it? 7 o'clock.
Is this Paul McCartney doing it?
Well, they've got his, the one that died. What's his name?
John Lennon.
John Lennon. That's right. Sorry, I don't like Beatles anyway. But
No, I was never brought up with them.
they got his voice from when he was singing it before he died, when they were messing about, and because they've got all the technology today, they can actually put his voice in the record.
Oh, like AI stuff.
Yeah, absolutely AI.
Yeah, so that's what they've done.
Oh, right.
It's all very clever.
They kind of did that with Elvis when he died. Because they brought out a little less conversation, but did it as a thing. And then Celine Dion did a duet with him on America's Got Talent with Elvis as a hologram on stage. It's amazing. She did it with...
That ABBA thing where they're holding.
Yeah, they're not real, are they?
No.
It's very clever what you can do, isn't it?
It is very clever, but it's easy to fake.
Mm.
And that's, I think, that is what is the worrying part.
I was listening to the radio the other day, and they were talking about AI and books,
Yeah.
and this author was he was livid because somebody had asked AI to produce a book the way he would write it,
Yeah.
and he said, I have never given permission for any of my work to be
Uploaded for AI's use.
uploaded for AI use.
This is the problem, and this is what the concern is about AI art, because basically what it does is it pulls resources from all forms of artwork
Yeah,
and then combines its own. So it kind of does what an artist would do, but you've got to look at the permission side of things. You know,
Yes.
where's it getting its art from? Does it have permission to use that art, which it won't have?
he was saying he has never, ever given permission for his work to be used in that way.
I mean, I've got to say, I like AI. I find it really useful, and I know a lot of schools are starting to use it just to get ideas for lesson plans and things. It's getting better, but you have to look at it that it's not fully truthful, because it gets random things. You know, the internet is so big, there are sometimes rogue things in there that it thinks is real or truthful, and it isn't.
Yeah,
I mean, there are websites now. What really offends me, and I found it happens, there are two things that offend me with AI imagery, is that there are a lot of like animal Facebook pages that show, look at this cute owl or whatever, and it's clearly not a real owl.
yeah,
You know, or I saw a baby peacock that was like a Disney peacock that was in full colour. Baby peacocks are brown. And this was a purple peacock with peacock tails and big eyes, and everyone was saying, oh, that's so sweet, I've never seen a baby peacock before. And I went, it's not a baby peacock, you've never seen one, because you still haven't seen one because it's not real. And there are websites now where you can go on and check an image to see if it's real or not. But what annoys me is that I would prefer pages to acknowledge that it's AI and not real,
yeah.
because people are gullible and will believe what they see. The other thing that really offends me with AI, and I think it's dangerous, is that because we've got over 35,000 followers worldwide on our shop Facebook page, their interests show up on our page. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So we see what people are interested in, and there are quite a few female celebrities in scantily clad clothes that are not real. The AI has used that celebrity's face
yeah,
and made them semi-naked without their permission,
yeah,
and some of it's very graphic, and very, whether you think it's pretty or not is irrelevant. It should be illegal, because it's not. If they wanted to present themselves in that way, they would have photographs of them taken in that way. They shouldn't be allowed to use people's faces to make, semi-rude images to then post, look how beautiful this so-and-so is. And I just think it's wrong. I really think it's wrong, because it's not right to have. I mean, I wouldn't like my image used
no,
for something else, or to say that I endorsed, what they... I mean, if you think about it, on my videos, AI people could have a field day, because you've got my face in every angle, you've got my voice saying hours worth of stuff. So I could be AI generated to say how much I love hobbycraft. Do you know what I mean? How much I think hobbycraft is better than supporting small businesses. And it can be so, I mean, it's not perfect enough. The mouths are never that perfect, but it's enough to make you think.
But it's.
And
I
if you,
heard it on the news the other night, and Fiona Bruce had been
Yes.
used it, but I think her hairdresser spotted it wasn't her properly.
Martin Lewis, the money man, he's been used to endorse products as AI, and he's suing them because he wouldn't endorse something that whatever it was.
I like listening to him, but he's so quick. I can't take.
I know he
it
does
all
speak
the
very
time.
because he's very excited and he wants to get everybody in, doesn't he? But I know you have to sort of like watch him and then
Isn't it
slow him
exhausting
down.
after you've watched him?
Yeah. But people shouldn't be. I mean, there should be an automatic thing in that software that stops you from using celebrities or other people's faces without permission. I just think it's a dangerous thing. But then ChatGTP is really interesting because, you know, for the women artists thing, I just said to it, can you give me a rough idea, you know, can you suggest female artists that people may not have heard of? And it searched through the whole world and found some, which is quite interesting. I could ask it to write a lesson plan, a 2-hour lesson plan on such and such. I've spotted certain social media companies locally using AI to write descriptions of things, and once you've watched AI and read a bit of it, you can spot it a mile off because the way it scans, and it puts too many descriptive words in, like somebody's trying too hard.
You can ask it to write a speech for you.
You can. I've asked it to write some short stories, and it's amazing what it comes up with within seconds. And I think I would. I mean, some people, you know, on social media say, "Well, just get AI to write the story, self-publish it on Amazon, and then you can just sell a book and get AI images, and you can turn it in a book and earn a passive income." But I don't feel that's right. I would, if I was going to ask AI to write a story, I'd then use it as a suggestion for a plot or something. I don't know, rather than slavishly copy it.
Anyway.
But it has opened up the way of plagiarism even bigger. I'm softening the edges of my light source with just a damp brush to try and make it feel less in your face.
I'm watching the Bake Off thing at the moment.
Oh yeah.
That's good.
I haven't. I really can't. I struggle to get into telly because there's so many evenings when I'm not at home at a normal time, and when I am at home, I don't want to watch anything.
Have you watched any, Dee?
I have, but I'm having to catch up.
Oh, right.
If you follow my logic.
Is Matt Lucas still?
Matt Lucas has gone.
He's
They've
got
Alison somebody.
Alison Hammond.
Marie, help me.
Yes, yes.
Right. Yeah. 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 That one.
She's on this morning.
Yes.
I miss Matt Lucas because I liked him.
A brummie, isn't she, Alison?
And I don't think that she and.
Is it still Noel?
Yeah, I don't think that she and Noel are working
No, they don't
together
like the
very
same, do
well
they?
yet. I think that by the time we get to the end, they will.
It must be very hard,
Yeah, I think so.
especially if you've been in something for longer and then you've got somebody that just is new, and it would be really hard for the new person as well, I imagine. Well, this kind of looks like something. It's really, when you're painting metal, it's all about shape. and even the highlights is a specific shape. And once you've got the shape, you have to forget that it's metal and forget that it's reflective and forget everything and just concentrate on what funny shapes can you see and what does that look like.
Yeah.
And then you just copy that funny shape. Because if you try to make sense of it, it won't work. But it's an interesting challenge, isn't it? But it's a handy skill to have, because I think I always prefer painting brass to silver because it's more dramatic, I suppose. Oh, we're doing a snowy stone circle and distant hills. That I nearly didn't say that properly. A snowy stone circle and distant hills. Next week, I'm bringing in snowy stone circle with distant hills.
Back to the countryside.
We're getting into the snowier stuff now. We're heading into November.
I wonder if we'll get it.
Well, if old ancient folklore and the amount of berries are on the trees, it's highly probable. But we've escaped a bad winter for several years now. There was that time we had that. Do you remember that weird snow about 5 years ago that was just like polystyrene balls? You couldn't make a snowman out of it. It was coming from a different region. And that caused loads of drifts because it just kept blowing away everywhere. The roads were clear, but then where it all gathered, I know Upper Wardington couldn't get out until the plough came. That sounded a frustrated
Yeah.
growl.
It was a bit growly, sorry about that.
That's okay. It's a new thing, and because people say to me, "Oh, your skill builders are harder than the actual normal lessons," but it's because we're doing things that are totally new, aren't they?
Yeah.
And when you're doing something new, no matter how easy something is, it's always going to be more difficult until you know how. You know, we're comfortable with painting a tree and a hill because we do it a lot. We do it a lot. But when it comes to painting something metallic, goodness, that's a... I'm using almost neat paints grey again in some spots. I might be cropping up on a few more town event things because the guy that's now doing a lot of the organising, who I've known for years, didn't actually know I could sing. And he said, I think I'll have to use you more now. Now I know. Because I can see where it would come in. Because it's all very well. I was saying this in class yesterday. A lot of pubs won't use singers like me because we sing with backing tracks, and they feel live music has to be somebody with music.
Oh, yeah.
But it's always somebody with a guitar.
Yeah.
And somebody asked me for a gig. They said, do you come with a band? And I said, if I came with a band, the kind of band I sing with, you couldn't afford me.
Yeah.
Because I'd need at least an 8-piece swing band. And you'd be looking at, what, £700-800 for an evening? Most pubs have only got a budget for 50 or 60 quid. And I think the difference is they imagine that it won't be entertaining because they haven't seen it. And a few people said to me at the food fair, because I mean it's interesting me being in the audience watching and then me being on the stage. They said, you know, loads of people with guitars were before me and they sounded nice, but they're just in the corner strumming away, almost like a busker.
Yeah.
And they said, but when you come on, because there's nothing else, you kind of have to engage with the crowd in a different way because you're not relying on other band members. And I'd never really thought about that before, but it's true. You have to do something because I can't like look over at the drummer or look over at the whatever to get me out of a hole. So you have to kind of get through it however you can. You are on your own, and sometimes you really feel it. But I think a lot of pubs just aren't sure how a backing track would go. I have thought, but it's expensive and I won't be able to do it yet, of, you know, like a lot of singers have the pull-up screens with their name on and stuff. I don't like that, it's not very vintage, but I did thought of having one, a big one, that looks like the back of a stage where you've got the orchestra in silhouette behind a curtain, so it feels like there's a band there.
Yeah.
But I said to somebody, when you watch Frank Sinatra on stage, unless he's performing with like Tommy Dorsey Band, which is like a big name band, on a stage the orchestra's in the pit.
It's just him.
So it's just him on the stage with the big band around him. It's the same with Ella Fitzgerald and, you know. But if you're not used to that kind of music, you wouldn't know that that's kind of accepted. I mean, Dean Martin's daughter, Dina Martin, she's in her 70s and she sings.
Call her Dina.
Dina, yeah.
Dear God.
And she looks like him, and she's a singer. Frank Sinatra taught her how to sing, and she's been singing since the 60s. And she does big concerts with big bands, but since lockdown, every month on a Friday, she does a live from her music studio, a live stream singing concert to backing tracks. And I just think, well, if it's good enough for, you know, showbiz royalty, I'm pleased. Do you know, I think I'm more pleased with my brass jug than I am with my silver jug, and I don't know why. I think it's because there are larger areas of flat colour on the silver jug in that larger bit. You know what I mean? It doesn't go from light to dark to light. It's just there.
Yeah.
Whereas there's more interesting things going on in there. But I chose these because they're very different in design. They're both jugs, but oh gosh, it's getting dark. Look at that. I think sunset's sort of like 4:45 now.
Yeah.
Well, I use the word sunset loosely.
Yeah.
The grey sky goes black
Yeah. That's
at 4:45. I'm not putting any gouache highlights on. I don't. I've done a sort of little bit there because there's a slight bit of reflected light that I missed out where the bottom of the bowl meets the stand. How did you find that, Marie?
I thoroughly enjoyed that, Barry.
Did you? It's different, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Not easy in a way,
No.
but I don't think it's like. I don't know. What did you find, Caroline? Have you found it hard?
Found it hard, yes. I don't think mine looks anything like metal at all.
From here it does. I think you could maybe go darker with your darks and get that contrast. But if you see it on the screen, it would show you more because it highlights it. Do you want to see yours, Marie?
Is there? You see it from a distance and you think it's...
That's lovely.
Oh, it's cracking.
It's all right, isn't it?
You see, your brass jug has been polished.
Yes, yours is a very polished.
Yeah, mine's like mine is at home where it's neglected.
It's got patina on it.
Yes. I haven't had the brasso on it.
It's not
No,
even
you
top.
you should be pleased with them. They're amazing.
Yeah, I think they're great, Marie.
That's lovely.
Yeah, I am pleased.
But you know what it is like I was saying to Caroline, you've got a really good contrast between your light bits and your dark bits.
Yeah.
Your light bits are light and your dark bits are really dark. Had we the time, which we don't have, and the inclination, what would make the shiny bits shinier is if the background was a slightly different colour.
If it was sort of like a dull blue.
Or any colour.
Yeah.
Because the background and the white bits are identical.
Yeah.
Where I'm going to show you because you know what I'm like. Let me use ultramarine because I don't want to not and I don't want much colour at all. Basically, I just want to take the white paper off, so it's not the same as our highlight colour.
Yeah.
And what will happen, I mean, I should have wet this first, but I hadn't. As with most things in these lessons, it's a fluid thing, and I don't plan to do this. And then I open my big mouth, and then before I know it, I'm doing it. But what should,
Stand out as well,
yeah, what should happen
doesn't it?
is it makes the white bits whiter, because we've reduced how much white is visible
Yeah.
on the paper by going slightly blue. I've chosen ultramarine for two reasons. One, it's actually present in the silver jug, and two, it's the complementary colour to cadmium yellow. I wouldn't expect you all to just know that, but I'm going to do the whole page while I'm at it, because I just think it's interesting now to see the difference.
It's just ultramarine.
This is ultramarine and loads of water. I should be more careful because I'm sloshing it about a bit. But can't you see that that's made that white, really white? And I haven't. I'm trying to work out how best to describe it. You can't go any whiter than either the whitest paint that you've got or the colour of your paper.
Yeah.
So in order to make the whites look whiter, you have to make everything else not white. So even when this dries,
That's made a big difference, I think.
it will not look blue. It'll be pale, but it won't be as white as the paper. And to me, that makes a big difference in bringing... Let me give this a quick blast so you can see what it looks like when it dries. And it's just to take the edge off the white. But I think for that particular one, it's really made it shinier. I mean, if I was doing this properly, I'd probably use masking fluid around the edge, or I'd use a little brush or something. But just taking that edge off the white and softening it a little bit means that the white bits of paper or gouache or whatever you've used stand out more. It's amazing, isn't it? Just that little tiny bit of colour. If I'd used a different colour that we haven't used today, it would look weird.
If you use
But-
green.
Yeah, well, if I made the green from ultramarine and cadmium yellow, it would work,
alright.
because it's present in both of those pictures. But if I'd chosen Virigin or something, it would jar.
Yeah.
So use a colour that is present in the picture, and it makes a big difference. But to me, that's made both of those jugs shine. Even the dull one looks shinier now because of the eradication of the white. Clever, isn't it? So it's just thinking about shapes and contrast. I think when you're painting metallics, it's working out your basic colours. That is, I mean, what's in there? There's cadmium yellow, burnt sienna, Payne's grey, and this one's ultramarine, burnt sienna, Payne's grey. So we've only changed one colour,
Yeah.
and we've got two totally different metals. If I was doing gold, I'd have less brown and have it more yellow.
And
If
also it wouldn't be as murky.
No, it would be clean and vibrant. If I was doing pewter, I'd use more brown.
Yeah.
But the blue in it makes a difference. Do you want to see yours, Caroline? I think it looks lovely. Because you've not done much watercolour, have you? That's really lovely.
I think that's super.
It is.
Oh yeah.
See, that works, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it looks better like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Because you can see that that's the lip of the jug.
Yeah.
Over.
I think that's
Yeah, very
splendid.
nice.
That's really good work.
Yeah.
Just you now, isn't it? And you're lovely.
Yours looks really metally.
Yeah.
Really nice.
But what works again, it's the contrast. You've
Yeah.
really gone with your darks
Yeah.
because you're not frightened of dark, are you? It's the
No.
same with the drawing, and that contrast, and especially I chickened out with that dark bit. You've gone even darker there,
Yeah.
and that's what really gives it solidity. You could, if I rubbed that, I'd expect a genie to come out.
Bless you.
But again, it's that contrast
I
that
put some
makes a difference.
cad yellow on the left side, on the right.
On there
Yeah,
to glow from there.
yeah.
Not very good.
Not sure
That's
whether
good.
it's worked.
No, that would work because I mean these are two separate images.
Yeah,
That I've combined on one sheet. Whereas if they were together, you'd get reflected light.
then you would see yellow in it.
You would absolutely.
Because that's the other thing with this silver one. There's no colour in it.
No, it's. I think it's been done in a
which is
white
weird.
box.
Yeah,
You know, like photographers have those special cubicles,
yeah,
and then you've got the ceiling light over it, which is the black and the rectangles.
yeah.
But there's nothing to give it.
There's no colour in
No,
it.
but because the old brass, it kind of works regardless. I've already forgotten what next week is. Remind me.
We're back in the fields with the snow.
Snowy something, yes. So that'd be
Yeah.
quite good. Thank you very much. I look forward to seeing yours online, and see you next week. Excellent, thank you. Are you here next week, Caroline? Yeah, and you.
As far as I know, grandchildren not topping out the woodwork.
Excellent. So take care. I'll see you soon.
You see, I
Bye
mean,
bye.
you know yours are going to